Hello, y'all can hear me, guys. How y'all doing today? This is Nathaniel Evans, um, podcast host for I'm Data, focused on leadership and redemption. And here we have, she will introduce herself, right?
Yes, I am Jeannie Muhammad, your global happiness expert, and I am happy, more than happy to be here with you and sharing this platform with the Nathaniel. And we have a subject today that we're both
Mm,
excited about. So thank you for
so
being here.
that's right. So you see, we have leadership, morality, and basically Martin Luther King Jr. And the reason why we actually came into this subject is because we see that leadership is at the forefront in this society. A lot of people focus on leadership. Many people want to be leaders. They basically characterize themselves as being leaders, and it's a very delicate topic. You know, because we don't know how people actually view us in our leadership, and if we actually doing the right things. To really connect with others and connect our purpose with others, because leadership is all about the individual purpose. They say that the people choose the leader, but the leader has to come to the people with a purpose in order for that leader to be chosen, right? People have to be able to see your energy and know exactly who you are and what you're bringing to the table before they actually, most of the time, assist you. As I actually been seeing in this society where people want you to make yourself first, and then they'll come and give you all these presents and gifts and things of that nature. But while you're on that road trying to get to your level of leadership, a lot of people are not really throwing a rope out to bring you in,
Right.
to try to increase you. So, you have
Right.
any thoughts before we start? Because I do want to jump right in.
Okay.
Um,
I want to say, as far as leadership, sometimes you're thrust into a prominent leadership position. You know, you may be reluctant to be in that position, but sometimes may see that there's a void there, and so you just jump right in because you know that there is a need. So sometimes leaders are just thrust in those positions and they're learning as they go. So I just wanted to say that, and I want to hear your thoughts, Nathaniel, on MLK as a leader, because I have mine. And if you want me to start off first, as far as how I see Dr. King, I'm more than willing to do that. But if you want to, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Okay.
you can hear me now?
Yes, but there's that reverb
Yeah, what's
again.
going on? Hold on one second. It's like my headphones are not.
This is live, everybody. So bear with us as we get our technical problems resolved. Maybe this subject is so heavy that somebody don't want us to talk about it.
All right, I'm back, right?
You're back, but I still hear that
What
reverb
is going on?
in
Okay, hold on.
okay.
How's that?
Okay.
Got it.
All right, it's gone.
Got it. Yeah, so the reason why we actually share this topic, and it wasn't actually on our list to share this topic, is because we ran across some information yesterday where it was two black women was actually talking about Martin Luther King Jr. and his legacy, and they was actually speaking about him in a way that was unfavorable, that I would say. I would only say that not to be biased towards their introduction or even their philosophies as leaders or people that are striving to become leaders. Um, I just go to say that individuals that was not born in the time of Martin Luther King, that did not go through the harsh realities that our people face in those times with being sick, dogs sicked on us, being sprayed with waters, being beaten and murdered in the streets and things of that nature, now coming to this time with a fresh new outlook of the world because they don't have those direct, obstacles in their path, right? So now they're able to basically see a person in a different light than the people that was in those times, right? And it was something interesting about that time because turning me down a little bit, just a tiny bit,
Okay.
yeah. So it was something interesting at that time because Martin Luther King was viewed as a leader, but also J.F. Kennedy was also viewed as a leader, right? And Martin Luther King, his infidelity, what people actually talk about, or his leadership, the infidelity was not broadcast on TV. Like nobody knew what he was doing behind the scenes. Only they was looking at the work that he was doing, the speeches, the marches and stuff. But when you go into JFK, his affairs was blasted all on the media. Everybody knew what was going on. And if we hear about JFK today, we hear about him as a leader. We don't hear about his affairs with Marilyn Monroe and his affairs with this superstar or these things like that. We hear about his leadership, with Jackie and what kind of man he was, and him meeting with Martin Luther King to try to change the course of history. These are the things that we hear about. But we don't hear about the infidelities that was actually taking place within the core of his leadership that the whole world has bypassed. But when we get to Martin Luther King, we actually hear about things that really have no really consequence on what I would say his leadership because he wasn't fighting for his own life so his own life could be perfect. He was actually fighting for the lives of his people, what I'm saying, to come out of strongholds that was actually holding them bondage at that time. So I do want to shed light on that because when you moving as a leader and you trying to come into your understanding as a leader because nothing is built in a day, right? So if you come into a new space, a new awareness, it takes time for you to even identify who you are and why you're on that path. Better yet, other people that's outside looking in, right? And the fact if you were sitting there thinking, let me be perfect. Like say Martin Luther King said, you know what, I'm gonna be perfect as a leader. I'm gonna do everything in the world that will please everybody. Right? I'm gonna have my household intact, my kids all gonna be superstars, right? He probably never even would have made a move to go into the world and do the things that he did because he'd have been focused on how he's gonna be perceived as an individual, as a man, right? So I think that is important not to really get caught up in a lot of those philosophies that people have on you have to be perfect to make a move. Everything has to be in total alignment for you to actually start, changing the course of your life. I think that that's something that actually would stop leaders actually in their tracks.
Yes. And I want to say that the video that I saw and the views that were expressed were very emotional. And sometimes we come out of emotion and not out of being logical and rational about whatever we're speaking about. And everyone has an opinion and everyone is has a right to whatever their opinion is, just as I have a right to disagree. So,
That's right.
but disagree in a civilized manner, in one that will bring some rationality to a conversation in a civilized way. So, what, uh, first of all, I want to say I did not agree with Dr. King's uh, philosophy of nonviolence because my philosophy is if you slap me, I'm going to slap you back. If you punch me, I'm going to try to punch you back. If you step on my toes, I'm not going to just be quiet and let you step on my toes and not say anything and not because I fear nothing and no one except Allah. My philosophy is that of the Holy Quran. you fight with those that fight with you. Now, that's my philosophy. That's what I believe. Dr. King did not believe that. He had a non-violent approach to his mission. That was his approach. And I can say, okay, and I look at Dr. King because I was here during that period of time. And I look at Dr. King and look at him thrust into a leadership position. He was only 26 years old. Now, think
Mm.
about that. 26 years old. He was the pastor of Dexter Baptist Church in Montgomery, Alabama. 26 years old when uh, Rosa Parks was put off the bus and made to, because she decided not to give up her seat because a Caucasian wanted that seat. So he was thrust in that position because he saw a need for protest and what was his mission? Dr. King's mission was to raise the public awareness of racial inequality, to end racial discrimination, to
Mm.
end segregation. He never cast himself as a moral leader, a spiritual leader. So we have to separate those things. He was a humanitarian. That was where he was going. He wanted to serve humanity, black humanity. So first of all, I think that sometimes we don't really understand a person's mission. And so because he just happened to be a pastor. He just happened to be a minister. That's like a sidebar.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to start out with
And that
is
was a good point. Because he didn't never tell the world that he was a leader based on morals. Like he didn't tell the world that his whole life was perfect and he doesn't have any skeletons in his closet. He never told the world any of these things, right? The world basically created their own realities and their own assumptions on what his life consisted of, and basically put him in this nice little box, right?
yes,
So, you say that a man is not a good man because you say that he had affairs on his wife, or because he did these activities as opposed to that activity. However, this movement in itself actually took place because of another woman that he wasn't having an affair with, right? And he helped her. He used her story to help the world see what was actually going on and to bring forth a change. So when we saying a black woman in this time right now, even though you may not believe in the movement as far as nonviolence and things of that nature, because many people didn't believe in Malcolm X either. They didn't believe in his
that's
concept
right.
on violence, right? So the world is split in two. That's it's always a balance. There is no right and wrong. There is no absolute truth other than the fact that we all breathe in air or we have to drink water to survive. But we don't all have to drink the same amount of water to survive. Some of us could drink less water. Some of us could eat less food, right? But we do know that the substance is there that we need. We need food, we need air, we need water, right? But it doesn't mean that we need an abundance of it, right? And our leaders don't need abundance of all these things to be leaders. Like they don't have to have all of these qualifications, all these tools in order to be leaders. And I think that's one of the greatest tricks that's actually been pulled over our eyes, that you have to be a perfect man in order to be a leader, especially amongst the black race. When you look at the other races, none of those things are attached to the other races. You hear about their leadership, but you don't hear none about their backstory. You don't hear anybody pulling them in the mud. Like even one time I talked to an Arab guy, and he said, "Yeah, man, I got 5 wives."
Mm.
He said his country got 5 wives. He said they all work together. They all help him. He don't help them. They all help him. They make sure that he lives this life that the world sees as him being, prosperous, right? Because wow, these five women came together to help this one man stand on a certain plateau that he would never been able to stand on his own,
Right.
right?
And
But
right. And you made a excellent point there. Sometimes we don't understand a person's mission and see, and because we don't understand their mission, we may attribute to them certain things that does not involve what their mission is. Now, God will call, look at all the leaders in the Bible that had a mission that was commissioned by God. But we could say, were they moral men? You know, look, we can say, like in Abraham, for example, he is the father of all Christian religion, the Jewish religion, the Muslim, the Islamic religion.
that's
We
right.
all look to
That's right.
Abraham as that leader, and he was a friend of God. But if you go back and examine Abraham's private life, then there are things in his life that you might say, oh, he was immoral, you know. But according to the purpose that God had for him, you know, we're not always perfect beings. And if
That's right.
we waited for a perfect being to come along, one that was without sin, to lead us, and you made an excellent point. Jesus himself said, uh, he who is without sin, let him cast the first
The first
stone.
stone. That's correct.
Right.
And he also said when they said, "You are a good man," he said, "I'm not a good man. The only one that's good is my Father." Right? So for women or even men to look for good men and good women in the land, a person without fault, without error, that means that they need to be without fault and they also need to be without error.
Wow. Oh, and who can we find like that,
And who can we
Nathaniel?
find? Who can we find like that? Who can we find like that? Right? It's understanding that we're all walking on eggshells in this existence. We all trying to find that right path that's going to lead us back to where we have to go, and we don't really know where we got to go. We just traveling, right? We moving around. We start making up assumptions about our lives, about who we are. Like, I like coffee, I like tea, I like biscuits. You know what I'm saying? I like to go to the amusement park. I like steak over shrimp. Right? We start creating these different realities for our lives as we down here because we don't have the full picture of what our lives are or what they consist of. And even our past, we don't see how we might be on a path at 1 minute, but not be on a path at the next minute, or even how we even got to this level right here in the first place. Right? If I
Okay.
go on,
No,
yeah,
no, you and I don't want to interrupt you,
no, it's good.
but I wanted to say, when you talk about we're just learning ourselves, I want to look again at Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King started out at 26. He was 39 when he was assassinated. Now look, 39 years old. How many 39-year-olds have reached their full potential?
Hmm.
Still evolving, still growing, okay? And learning who we are at 39 years old. Now, Martin Luther King was evolving from that 26-year-old, and if you listen to his speeches, you will see his evolutionary thinking from when he made the speech of "I Have a Dream" to his last speech, I've been to the mountaintop, and the speeches when he was in Memphis leading that protest for the garbage collectors. You will see that he was evolving, and I believe that's one reason he was assassinated, because when this world See, our leaders departing away from what they want us to say, think, do, then for our leaders, then they have to be exterminated. They have to, this world see where they have to be removed because they are evolving
That's
into a,
right. And he's not being removed, and not to sound facetious, but he's not being removed because he was an adulteress, because he was a cheater, right? He's not being
go
removed
ahead.
for any of those things that you're trying to use to denounce his greatness, and the things that he has, basically brought into the black families of the world. Not just one black family, but all black families all over the world benefited from his sacrifice, from his selfish sacrifice to put himself on a line during a very perilous time. That was a very perilous time. That was not a time like these times right here, you know, where people feel so comfortable to actually move about the land and challenge laws and get into politics and stuff like that. We didn't have access to those things at that time, right? No one was actually looking for somebody to do a rally and then turn around and give you money because you went and did a rally. No one was looking for the advocate, to change life, because the way that life was structured, it was structured against us, right? We even had problems when we stopped taking the bus and we started doing carpooling, where they actually started sabotaging the carpooling industry that we actually tried to create amongst each other. But today they have Lyft,
Yeah.
they have Uber, right? They have share rides that that you can get involved with, right?
Right, right.
Right? You could contact somebody and say y'all need a ride, and they be like, oh, $5. I'm going that way anyway. I'll just drop you off as I'm passing through, right? This is something that we try to do to stop the industrial complex called the MTA, right? And the
Mm,
MTA fought against that with tooth and nail and also violence, right? People don't speak about how they was involved in the violence that took place amongst our people as we were trying to find a new reality for our lives. We,
right,
you know,
right.
and to be like I would say, to look at, if anybody watching, look at that ad that I put up there. It has a caption of the two women I was actually doing an interview, and it would show you the basis of why we actually was doing this podcast in the first place. And like Jeannie said, this is a very delicate matter. I really don't see a lot of people online, and that's cool, but you can always go back to it and view it later on. But it's a time where we did not have control, and now we have a little bit more control. We have a little bit more money. We have a little bit more power. We have people that's named superstars and icons and stuff like that of our nation, but that wasn't connected to our reality back then, right?
And,
So,
and Nathaniel, I think some people may have thought that we were going to bash Dr. King.
oh no, you can't do that.
I know, I know, I know. And because when you say leadership and morale, because so many people now, and you have to ask yourself, what is the motive and the intention behind uh, casting doubt on Dr. King's leadership because of infidelity? What is the motive? Who's doing it? What's behind that? What was even behind the collection of that data on Dr. King? Who collected it? The FBI. Why did they collect it? It was J. Edgar Hoover. Why did he collect that kind of information on Dr. King?
He
What,
collected
what
on everybody.
yes, on everybody.
That
On
was his
every
tactic. He used that. J. Edward Hoover used tactics. You know what I'm saying? He went into men's personal lives and took out, what I'm saying, hidden information and threatened to expose them if they didn't do this or they didn't do that. Right? So yeah, why wouldn't they gather information? Even if, and truthfully, how do you know the information they gathered was really true?
again,
How,
yes.
how do you know? How do you know that the information that wasn't misleading? I just think it's
Was it
as I
yes,
just
was it
think it's
ever
really
verified?
it's really imperative, man, not to be looking at a lot of minute realities when it comes to our leaders, so that leaders can move forward and do the things they need to do within the society, whether it be man, woman, children, whatever it may be, because you don't want people to get stopped in their tracks as they're moving forward. But we want to have these great leaderships of individuals did that. Who know the story, the backstory of Harriet Tubman? No one knows that. Only what they tell you on TV and things of that nature. She told stories, but she didn't give them all her information because she didn't trust the systems. So a lot of information that she might have had about her life, she didn't indulge it.
Right. Right.
Right? So most of these things
Right.
are secrets. It's a secret. When men and women pass on, a lot of realities are secrets. Right? Even if you say they did this or did that, who's a fly on the wall to see why these things happen or how these things occur? What really took place in that person's life to move in this direction or to move in that direction? We don't
Right.
know it. We
Right.
don't know it.
Right. And see, we are so sometimes, Nathaniel, quick to judge. We are so quick to judge without taking into account that none of us are really equipped or have what is need to judge. Only our maker, our creator, can be the judge of who we are and what we are, because I would certainly not want anybody to judge me on who I was when I was 39 years old or 35 years old. If my life had come to an end when I was 39, man, I
Mm,
mean, it wouldn't have been pretty. It wouldn't have
yeah.
looked good. It wouldn't have been a good look, because I am not that same person that I was at 39. And so for anyone to judge me and keep that in their mind about what I was when I was that age, is that really who I am today? Is that, and what would be somebody's motivation now that I am here now for to bring up what I was at 39? What would be the motivation? What good would it do for anyone to bring up anything in my life and point at me and say, this is what you did? What good would it do in the present reality? And Dr. King, as you have pointed out, was in a different world than we have today. It was in, I mean, can you imagine, you getting on a bus as a black person, you had to automatically go to the back of the bus. Even if there were no seats in the back of the bus and the front of the bus had empty seats, you still had to go to the back of the bus. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Rosa Parks had the courage to say, I'm not doing that. Martin Luther King had the courage to back her, a black woman, a black man backing a black woman. Don't you know this world did not want to see that?
Yeah. And even in this time, and that's why I show, this topic, I know it's a hard pill to swallow for people, I get it. And it's not to make people uncomfortable, it's basically to shed light on, our current lives, things that we're striving for. Or we have these, astronomical goals that we want to achieve. We want to be, I run into a lot of advocates in communities, and they want to change the Constitution. They want to change the framework of the prison systems. They want to change the realities of homelessness in our societies. Right? They want to change the welfare system and the child support system and all these other different systems that's coming about. And in order to do that, you got to have innate courage to do those things, because you don't know what's on the back end. You don't know who's going to be looking at you, who's going to be stalking you. You
Mm-hmm.
know, um, Like I went to an event one time to close Rikers Island, and I wasn't fearful for my life, but my life flashed before my eyes because the individual was an individual there that I saw that wanted to take my life because of the work that
Wow.
I was doing. you
Wow.
know, and I could have lost my life then, and somebody could say, well, he had went to prison in his past, so he's not a great leader.
Right.
He's not a good person, right? And we have to be really careful of how we allow ourselves to be identified and how we allow others to identify us, and also how our leaders are actually being identified in this day and time. I see that a lot of people, they would use the concept of what leaders did in the past to catapult themselves to new levels. They want to become, thought leaders, right?
Mhm.
They want people to recognize their concepts and their new ways of thinking so they can override the leaders of the past. But you can't override the past. The past is actually where it's at. I think it's
Right.
taking the blessings from the past and using those blessings to say, okay, well, this happened here, this happened here. These are some of the situations that this individual went through. See some of the obligations this individual went through. By me knowing the story, I could probably bypass some of these things, so they won't attach themselves to me. But
Right.
to get into a space where you think that you're perfect and that you want the world to view you as being perfect, it's a space where it can cripple you if it never happens for you.
Okay. And you mentioned Malcolm X and how him as a leader. And I want to say something that may be very controversial, but if it is, hey, I can stand on it because I got shoulders that are very broad. Um, why is it that this world pushed Malcolm X, and even, I don't know, at one time we were thinking about putting him on a stamp? And I am a great admirer of Malcolm X. In fact, he is who started me on my path, the autobiography of Malcolm X by, I'm trying to think of the author, but um, that was when I read that when I was 17. I was in high school and I read it. And it started me on a path of really learning about who I am as a Black person. And so I'm a great admirer of him. But why is it that that this world never speak of who taught him? What is the motive behind that? And what is the motive behind not see Malcolm came out of prison. He That was his training ground in
That's
prison.
right. Mm-hmm.
You know, that's where he started on his evolutionary path. But and it's made to appear as though when Malcolm was here, he did not have his foot on the neck of this present this system. It never is said. So what's the motive behind what is said to us about our leaders? That's, I think, sometimes in the Holy Quran there's a passage that says, when someone bring you news, you check out the person that's bringing you the news. Don't just look at the news they're bringing. I'm paraphrasing. Don't just look at the news that the person is bringing, but look at the one that's bringing the news, because you may end up hurting someone because the news that is brought to you that has a motive behind it that you don't see. So why are we constantly being fed different things about our leaders, but we don't ever take time to think who's bringing us the news? Who's giving us this concept of our leaders? You know, and sometimes, Nathaniel, we make gods out of human beings.
Yes.
We
Yes.
put people on a pedestal
Yes.
and we look up to them and worship them.
And then people that's on pedestals, they a lot of times take it as if it's their blessing, as if, it's going to cure them from the ills of the world, from their path, from their dirty, dark secrets that they have. I was looking at something today. It was a man. His name was Uncle Ben. It was a white man. He been prominent in a certain industry for like 35 years, and everybody loved him. Everybody, connected themselves to him. But undercover, he was doing things against children,
Wow.
right?
Wow.
And this individual, is a white man in our society that's doing these things, and it took him 35 years while he was still living to unearth these things. Our leaders, as far as Malcolm X, Martin Luther King and stuff, they're basically finding things about them after they died. They're telling a story about these people after they die, not when they're alive, but after the time is over. Now they're saying, "Well, you thought he was that great. Look at this. You thought he was that great. Look at that." Right? And we have to be careful of why or how we digest that information. Even if the information is true, we have to be very, very selective on digesting information, because does it have a bearing against the greatness that the person was
Yes.
moving in? Does it
Yes.
really have a substance? Because now you can say, a woman can say, my husband should never cheat on me, right? He needs to be faithful from the time we meet to the time we die, right? But now, if this same woman was to go back, like they're going back to uproot Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and other leaders, you know, that's in our times, that was in our times, go back and look at the people that ruled over us and how they view infidelity, how they view, adultery, right? They didn't honor it. There was no honor in that system because they was violating the slaves. They was going against the men and the children and the wives and stuff like that. So where is the honor at destroying your own people in a system that was destroying us, as a result of their dominance, of their superiority and their leadership, supposedly, right? Why are we not looking at where that matter stem from, of learning certain tactics and learning certain things, because we come through a heavy path. This was not a light journey. This was not an easy journey. The Most High says, in the good time we forget the bad, and in the bad time we forget the good.
Mm. Wow. Yes. And that is so true. Because what I hear you saying, Nathaniel, is that we are we are told that this is the way we should live. This is the moral way we should live. This is what this society deems to be good and upright and righteous. But is the society itself practicing what they preach?
No.
See, that's what I hear you saying. We
Yeah.
we are given a standard by which to judge other people, and especially our black leaders. And we're given a standard to judge them, but this society does not live by those standards.
That's correct. They do not live by those standards, right? Because if you look at, even say for instance, people talk about, the society as a whole, right? And society as a whole is based upon their money, their economics, right? So the leaders that's on the money, which one of those were righteous? Which
Oh,
leaders that was on that money were righteous, right? We spend the money righteously, and we use the money to create righteous platforms and systems. We're gonna create nonprofits and LLCs and foundations and stuff like
okay,
that in
okay.
righteousness, right? But we're using the stamp of those men, not women, because there's no more women on the money, right? We're using the stamp of men right? That was ruled in perilous time that was against us, right? Rockefeller, you know what I'm saying, Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, all these men, they were not righteous. They were not righteous. And they were not righteous against us as a people. They wasn't even righteous against themselves as a people, but definitely not against us. But we sit here and we righteously use this money. We righteously take this money to buy houses, couches, cars, men, women,
Go
right?
ahead.
Right? To create all type of industries of wealth, right? And but those men are not righteous that's on that money. So you're sitting here and speak about your black leaders that you say that they was not righteous and they were not good men, but you're sitting here with poison in your pocket, right? Ready to spend it so you can go actually buy a Starbucks or you can actually go buy a new Tesla, right? Or you can actually go buy some stocks and bonds or some Bitcoin so you can become successful, you know what I'm saying, with the faces of those that actually dominated and controlled your people for long periods of time, for centuries. Not decades, not 1 year, 2 years, but for centuries, right? And now you come out of this stronghold and you attach yourself to their strongholds, right? And now you say that us as black men or black women, when we move to the land, we must move to the land as a righteous ordinance, right? But the ordinances that move us in this land, they are not righteous.
Right,
The
right,
principles that construct us as a being in this land are not righteous principles, right? I
right.
was looking at something the other day, and it was like, okay, wow, okay, and it was saying that doctors, white doctors, black doctors, whatever doctors, have come up with an experiment to break a man's body to the point where he can actually start having children.
Oh, wow. Wow. That, when we look at this society as a whole and we understand exactly where we are now as a society, and we are not propelled by love, love of humanity,
Of humanity.
love. And when we are so quick to judge on the base of color, skin, religion, all of that, see, to me, those are diversive tactics that this world use to take our focus off of what is it that we are as humanity. What is going to propel us farther as humanity? Not these distractions about, the morality of Dr. King, the morality of any. Why is that so? That's a distraction.
Yeah, you
You
know, and you know, and it's not to say because I'm married, right? So you know, I talk to my wife all the time about these certain issues, and I tell her, you know, just to be honest with you, according to today's society, dealing with data, there are at least 30 women to one man,
okay,
right? Which means that there are not enough men for women for every woman to have her own husband.
okay,
This is the way they created this society amongst the men and amongst the women, right? A lot of men are in prisons, they on drugs, they experiencing high bouts of mental health illnesses, homelessness have went through the roof, has increased, right? Suicide amongst men have also increased in the land, right? So women are at odds when it comes to actually building this basically principle of the perfect family structure that this society has thrust down our throats.
listen at what you just said. See, this society thrust down our throats this concept of the man, the woman in the house, the children, the little house with the picket fence around it, this little perfect scenario.
Yep.
Okay, now why is it that there are so many women and so few men? And was there a master plan to create this? See, sometimes we see things that are in existence, but we don't understand that years of planning went into it being this way. If we go back even as far as slavery, back during that time, see, the women were allowed uh, to be a certain way, but the men were really destroyed in front of the women to make the woman depend on master. See, the man, she knew she couldn't depend on her black man because he was being destroyed.
He
Now
was
let's
stripped of
go.
any power. He was
He
stripped
was
of his
stripped of
power.
any power. The black woman knew that her man was powerless, you know. And so what is this doing to the psyche of the black woman? What is this
That's
doing
right.
to the psyche of the black man? And
That's
we
right.
come on up and we see the result of it today. Black men. That's why I'm an advocate for black men. I am, I'm an advocate for my black man because I know that this society is designed to bring him down. This society is, and
Yeah.
then
Don't make a mistake. Don't be a Will Smith right now, right?
oh wow,
You don't you don't want to be a Will Smith right now. You don't want to make that mistake. And that was a costly mistake. That was deadly. He lost a lot of status in the world. He lost contracts he had. He lost millions of dollars that people not even thinking about. And not only that, he has hid his face from the world. You don't even see him no more. He's not on TikTok. You don't see him on Instagram. He's not doing his creativity that he was actually doing. He's not in that same spirit and that same energy. And I think that that's a testament to show that we can't lock ourselves in to the testimonies of the world as leaders. Even if you make a mistake, it doesn't matter. You still have to get back up and move forward because you still have work to do. You're not dead yet. The mistakes that you made or the path that you have taken or the path you haven't taken, you're not dead yet. You're still here. So you still have more work to do. And your work is
right,
not to sit here and moan and gloat and what you should have done or why you shouldn't have done that. It's not about that. It's about you moving forward and being connected to your morality.
right, and that's it. We all make mistakes. We all make mistakes, you know, and we will be making mistakes until the day we pass from this earth, you know.
Even beyond, you might
Even
watch,
yeah, because I
you
was
might watch a
thinking the
couple of might watch a couple of ghost movies and you see the ghost is still tugging, trying to figure this out so they could, move on. That's why they created the show Ghost Whispers, right? Because she's
yes,
helping the spirits that trap to move on to the next plane. But she's not the only one. They got YouTube specials on that. They got this psychic that's doing that. This psychic, that's this spiritualist that's doing this or doing that, right? Right? Because you can even get trapped here spiritually according to the doctrine and according to statistics they actually brought out that every being doesn't move on to the next plane, right? That's why they come up with the word purgatory, right? That's a concept. And that's
right,
before you and I was born that word purgatory exists. Who created it? It just came from nowhere, right?
right,
Is being aware to continue to move ourselves forward and not be snatched by the horns from the things that we do or don't do in this life because we're not perfect in this world,
and
right?
yes, and the thing is, to always be striving. See, we're striving for certain things. Yes, we haven't reached there yet, but we're
Nope.
striving, you know,
That's right.
and as long as we're striving towards that goal, then who am I to say? I mean, I don't know when I will be called out of this plane, this
How would
existence.
you?
I don't know. So,
It's
uh,
impossible.
impossible. And I don't want to be and judged by what I have done. I really don't even want. I don't. Please don't judge me. I'm striving.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm striving
yeah,
not to be judgmental because I don't know. I don't
yeah. I
know.
don't know. I don't know what it's passages that's in the scripture that rocks men to the core, and I think that's what a lot of times men don't read passages where they may be in the Bible, they may be in the Quran, they may be in Hindu texts or whatever, because it strips man from his reality that he is perfect, right? That he's this unique being that walked across the face of the earth when he is not, right?
Right.
Many leaders, you know, when you see that they passed away, they passed away broke, they passed away with a weak spirit, right? They commit suicide, they do different things like that. They harm themselves in ways where you may look at Whitney Houston as being a leader, you know what I mean, for black women, right? She was a leader, but her legacy didn't end well.
That's right. That's right. And what was her purpose? See, what was her purpose for being here? And sometimes that's where what we get mixed up, because all of us have a purpose. Your purpose may be on a grander scale than my purpose, but that does not say it's not any. My purpose is not important, you know. And so on a grander scale, that may be it, you know. But and like with Whitney, what was her purpose? Was it to bring some joy to someone through her music? Because when I hear her music, I'm taken to another level. Was that her purpose? Because somebody may need to hear that song that she can only sing, that would take them to that other level. So what was her purpose?
That's right.
Was her purpose to be my spiritual guide?
That's
Was
right.
her purpose for me to look at her as a leader I want to emulate as far as my life? Was that her purpose?
Was her
You know,
purpose here to show you that there are no barriers and that you can break through certain barriers in the industry and you can move yourself on a higher plateau? Or was her
right,
perfect to be perfect for your life and for you to use her life, as a mantra for your own life?
right, right. And see, and that's what we get mixed up sometimes, I think, when we look at leaders and different leaders that have been put in front of us. Okay, now we can look at examples of spiritual leaders like Jesus, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Now, there are certain moral characteristics that we're going to look for in those leaders that I'm not going to look to as far as Whitney is concerned. You
That's right.
see,
That's right.
or even Martin Luther King. I'm not going to equate him with Jesus Christ, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. I'm not going to put them in that same category. You
Yeah,
know,
because they're not cut the same. They're not the same, and a lot of times, that's why you have, when you're looking at psychology, you have many, many, many different leaders that they use for psychology. You know what I'm saying? You have Jug, you have this one here. You have so many different ones that Aristotle. You got different people that created different levels of philosophy, even though they may seem to be the same, but they have a different message at the end of them,
right,
right? They're not the same. You can't tie all these men into the same, all these men into the same, and create this makeshift reality of what you what you supposed to be a good man or what you supposed to be a good woman, according to the substance of what the world is based on, right? The
right,
world is saying that this is a wealthy man because he has a Tesla, right?
right,
Until you watch on the news that he stole the Tesla, right? Right. So you know what I mean, right? it tells you that this man, was very successful, and it showed you had jets and houses and stuff, until it showed you that for 10 years he been doing scams, right?
Yes.
Right? It gives you an illusion on what's there, but it's really not there to let you think in your spirit that you don't have the right to reach this level of plateau because you have skeletons in your closet,
Right.
right? I would say this, that the Most High sees all things. He sees all your skeletons. You can't hide nothing. You know what I'm saying? The Most High said he see in the darkness like it was light. Right? You can't hide nowhere. There's nowhere you can hide. No cubby hole, no sewer, no anything to change the facts of who you are to the Most High. Right? You can deceive men all the time. They won't know who you are a lot of time until somebody rip away the veil and say, "Oh man, that's who that person really was, or this is what this person was actually doing behind closed doors."
Right.
Right? You wouldn't know it.
Right.
But for us to get caught up in, you know, our morality as leaders and think that we're supposed to be perfect to move forward as leaders, it robs us of our path.
Right.
It takes
Right.
away something because we're not perfect,
Right.
right? The scriptures tell you through and through. I don't care what scripture you read. They all say the same thing. You know what I'm saying? That the flesh is not an art of perfection.
That's right. That's right. And that's why I say that yes, we should be moral. Yes, we should have very, very high standards. Yes, we should be striving to for perfection. This is what I believe. We should be striving for that, but we have not reached that yet.
Hmm.
None of us have reached that. We should be striving to be honorable, upright, righteous people, doing the right thing, doing unto others as we would have done unto us. We should be striving for that. But none of us have reached that yet. We're on different levels. I may have been able to elevate myself a little higher. So, do I look down on Nathaniel if I feel like he has not reached my level yet? What is my duty? Is it my duty to help elevate him?
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I see. It's my duty to help elevate him. If I see he's striving as a leader, he wants to be a great leader, and I may, in my eyesight, see something that needs to be improved. Is it my is should I go to him, and especially go to him in private? What's my motivation for maybe saying to Nathaniel, if you are striving to be a leader, here's a characteristic that really is one that you should develop. Now, is it because I want to elevate him, or do I see something in Nathaniel and I know that it will bring him down, and I don't say anything because I want him to be brought down? I don't want him to elevate. So, what is my
Because he
motive?
might challenge my elevation. I'm threatened by my own elevation. I'm threatened by my own levels, you know, of being fragile in this world, right? Because regardless of how high I get as a leader, and I said this story to you before, that King David was a great man according to the scriptures. He was a very great man, and
Right.
did a lot of great feats for the Most High. Even the Most High called King David his friend,
Yes,
right?
yes,
But
yes,
but when it was time for King David to move on, he was afraid.
yes. You did share that.
He was afraid. You know what I'm saying? So you don't want to try to put men or women in these nice little boxes of what you believe that leaders consist of, that have been taught to you about what leaders been consist of, right? You ain't, a lot of times you're not coming from your own framework of leadership, right? You may go to college and learn about leadership and things of that nature, but have you really went through a path of leadership? Did you go into a mountain for 5 years to get realization for yourself and remove yourself from the whole world and came back with this substance where you glow in the world, right? Did you actually do that, right? Did you break yourself down to the lowest compound, the lowest molecule, to know what leader consists of because of what challenge you have going through? Or did you learn these things in school when you got a master's degree or a PhD or a doctorate degree? Right? Where did you learn the frameworks for your leadership? Was it
Right.
through you or was it through others?
Are your thoughts your own, or are your thoughts ones that you have come conclusion from your life experiences? What the thoughts that you have? Where did they come from? Where did they originate? Are they original thoughts that you have determined in your life, or did you hear it on the news and you ran with it? Did you read it in a book and you ran with it without really examining even the author and why he was saying what he said?
That's right. Did you
So,
go to the Library of Congress? Did you go to the Library of Congress and really get the raw documentation that was there? You know what I'm saying? Or did you read it through a makeshift of somebody's book? You know what I mean? Somebody's poem that they said or things like that. Like one time I had read some information, very misleading. It said Michelangelo had wrote a poem about Timberland, the tree that's on Timberland, and that tree resembled us hanging from trees, right? And
mm,
that it was the branches, but it was misleading. It was a lie,
see,
right? It
see,
was a lie.
see,
And it even went back to my Angela while she was alive, and she had to say, "I did not write that poem. I don't know where that poem came from. I did not write it. I never even said that." Right?
see.
So it was a thing that she was able to counterattack while she was still alive. But imagine if she would have passed away before she was able to basically dispel that lie. It would have still
Right.
stood there as if she had something to do with defacing, Timberland. I don't know the true story. I don't know where they got the branch from. It resembles, people hanging from trees or whatever. But at the end of the day, it didn't come from Maya Angelou. It
See,
came from
you
somebody
see.
else and tagged her to that work.
Okay, I'm gonna tie this up. My takeaway from all of this, Nathaniel, is Martin Luther King Jr. was a great man in that he strived to perform a great mission. He was a young man, still growing, still learning himself, but he took on a monumental task that he saw a need for. For that, I admire him greatly. For
Yeah, and
that,
on that note, I would like to say that because we have to. And our last one of our last segments was about gratitude, right?
right,
We have to have gratitude for our leaders, for the paths that have been set before us, for the knowledge, the wisdom, and understanding has been unearthed for us, and not try to remove the blessings that have been given to us to even get us this far that we actually can have this conversation. It was a time we didn't have a voice, we wasn't able to have any conversation.
right,
Better yet, have a YouTube channel or Zoom or podcast,
right,
right? This comes from the sacrifice of many leaders, some that we would never know, a lot of unsung leaders that lost their lives to make a stance and to create a new reality in the world. And we have to have gratitude and be
that's right,
grateful for the
that's right,
paths of the people that have been before us and what their leadership consists of so we can find new ways to create leadership that doesn't denounce the leadership of others.
that's right, that's right. Thank you, Nathaniel.
And
This
with
discussion,
that, thanks a lot, guys. It was great hearing from y'all. Hopefully next time we have a little bit greater audience. But appreciate those that tuned it in, and whoever take information from this, knowledge from it, we really appreciate it. Good
thank
day.
you, and
Thank
peace
you.
and blessings.
Peace and blessings.